Are there any other interesting dishes then that we consider soul food that has like a an origin story like that where people think it might be something that we just invented, but it actually has like a different path towards us?
Yeah, there's a couple things like that. So, one thing is fried chicken. And in my work, I wanted to definitively prove that things like fried chicken and barbecue were African in origin because I wanted to cross my arms across my chest and say Wakanda forever after proving that. But I'm someone who's led by the facts. So I want to talk about barbecue and fried chicken, in two separate instances. So with fried chicken, it makes sense to think that Black people would have been familiar with fried chicken because there were deep frying traditions in much of West Africa. Chickens arrived in around 1000, the year 1000 AD, and were quickly embraced by Africans. In fact, supplanted a lot of the guinea fowl and other things that people were eating there. So you had chickens, you had the deep frying tradition. But when you go back and look at the way Africans ate food back then and even now, they didn't eat fried chicken the way we understand it in the United States. Um, Typically, when they get a chicken, they break it down into smaller pieces, but those pieces are usually quickly fried in some kind of shallow oil and then braised along with other vegetables and other things. So it's really like a twice cooked method. So it's more like a fricassee than the fried chicken. So what my research shows is that fried chicken probably came from Europe because I found recipes from the 1700s of butchering a chicken, breaking it down, dipping it in a batter, and then frying it in oil, which is essentially what we get for American style fried chicken. And again, like macaroni and cheese, enslaved cooks were forced to make this dish, and they make it so well that they become its signature cooks. It's similar with barbecue. Barbecue, I argue, is Native American in foundation, but enslaved Africans and European colonizers bring their traditions and graft it onto what Native Americans were doing, and it puts us on the road to Southern barbecue. And again, if you go back through history and look at what the ways that Africans were smoking meat, they weren't necessarily doing it in the pit tradition that we think of with Southern pit barbecue. The way they smoked meat, and often this is the way they did small game, bush meat, they call it, or fish, is it was similar to the Europeans. They would build these basically smoke huts and hang their fish in the hut and smoke it that way. So you just don't see barbecue that way now. I'm sorry, back then. And the barbecue they even do now is more like grilling on skewers, and rather than large cuts of meat cooked in a pit. But one other fun example I want to give is what I call red drink, and you all know what that is. Any red colored drink, so it could be Kool-Aid, could be Hawaiian Punch, could be strawberry soda, all that kind of stuff. In my book, I write about how I think that those drinks are a nod to the red drinks of West Africa, namely hibiscus drinks, often called bisap, and also cola drinks. There are red cola nuts, and in the case of red cola nuts and bisap, when somebody would go to someone's house, these were offered as hospitality drinks. And both of those drinks crossed the Atlantic during the Atlantic slave trade and take root in places like Jamaica, where if you go to Jamaica, you're familiar with that cuisine, it's called sorrel, and it's a Christmas time drink, but essentially you're just taking the flower petals of the hibiscus plant and steeping them in water and sweetening to taste. Same with cola nuts. And these things start spreading around the Americas. And so, well, how do you make Kool-Aid? Get some water, color it red with that powder, and sweeten it to taste. So I think these things are a nod to West African drinks.